Alien 1986 showed me the power of the practical effects, bonding through trauma, and the power of strategy. Those are three things I want to talk about in this movie. I'll just break it down bit by bit. I like this movie, guys. First time watching it. Like I said, first thing it showed me was the power of the practical effect. What do I mean by that? Obviously, this movie is made in the 80s. The CG wasn't what it is now. So when they show you the xenomorphs, the monsters, they show you it through like a great use, in my opinion, of just the practical make of these like creatures with like a lot of darkness, mixed with a lot of darkness and dark shots, and like really good camera angles. Like there was I remember a scene where you see them crawling up a vent, or a couple of them actually, and it was turned a certain way, uh like someone looking down at it, even though it's like a vertical shape, right? I really like stuff like that. Stuff in this movie, it just made me realize that xenomorphs seem so much scarier in this movie and the original I watched how many months ago now. So much more compared to the recent movies I've seen. Um Prometheus. I haven't seen Alien Covenant, but I'm guessing it's the same thing. Alien versus Predator. I watched a little bit of that. I was thinking about why, and like I said, they use darkness well, practical effects well, but the feeling I get is like these are truly like beastly creatures. Yes, they seem to have some kind of intelligence, but I mean when I say beastly, I mean they're these large, but like never ending like unknowable creatures. So I think I know what they look like, and then they'll pull like an appendage out that, like their scaly tails or something like that, and it makes you think, oh shoot, I know these creatures are there. There's something else. Like I can't quantify it in my mind, and that's true fear, right? Fear the unknown, classic. That's a basic skill to capture if you want to do horror right. This movie does that right, uh, and so does the original Alien as well. And I like that so much more compared to, I realized, the recent movies. I'm starting to see that people who grew up on 80s horror and action, they definitely watched a lot more quality than I do now, sadly. You know what it also reminded me of? It reminded me of a little bit of the basilisk in Harry Potter 2 or Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, whatever. Um, that had some great practical effects. That was more of a mix of CG and practical, but it reminded me a tiny bit of that. And the fear, I remember being really young watching that movie. Got oh, probably you can probably watch a YouTube clip of it on YouTube. Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, basilisk. Just type that in, and you see the certain shots where the creature, the basilisk, gets close to Harry. And he's like sniffing the air because it's been blinded. I don't care about spoilers, by the way. These are like this old movies now, um, and you really feel that fear because it's a physical presence, but it feels so colossal, right? It's like you don't, again, you don't know how to sort in your head. When you see a fly, you understand the fly. Even when you see an elephant, you understand the elephant. When I see a xenomorph or basilisk, I'm like, what is this? You know, when you can't get a grasp of something, it makes your mind wander, and that's what makes it more scary. And I like this movie for doing that. That's all through practical effects. I really respect this movie for that. Something that I think's lost on today. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. Second big thing that I like about this movie is the power of bonding through trauma. What do I mean by that? Um, Ripley and Newt. obviously it's not a coincidence. They bond in a movie, and they're both lone survivors of the previous group or clan who got wiped out by these creatures, and they're both also people who nightmares based on those experiences and struggle to sleep. Right. I liked that element of it. I'll be honest. I was making either one act a bit stupid, but it would do because they're human, and neither of them, even Ripley, as smart as she is not trained in the same way some other people are trained in this movie. She has a lot of knowledge, but she's not Mary Sue. She's still learning. She's being taught things in this movie, practical things, things for her survival. And New is more like just like the little cub figure by comparison. She isn't. Could you say she's learning things? No, in my opinion. But obviously, that bond, like I said, it was meaningful to me watching this, and it made me realize that there's always consequences when you write a story right right when you write a story right. There's always consequences based on past events. People don't just experience boss battles like a Dragon Ball Z episode or any anime and then go to the next episode. Well, any bad anime, and then they go to the next episode and it's a new thing. You know, people experience pain and trauma from these events. PTSD, I guess is the right word. That's something I liked about this movie. And then lastly, I say a big thing that I liked watching this film are the power strategy. So, of first and foremost with Ripley again, she's the MVP. Is she? She had help, but she's the MVP. For the most part. Anytime there was a situation with these creatures, right? They'll quickly try to get back to each other and regroup and rethink. There's a scene that I love where a couple scenes actually where people are going places or people are have just experienced an attack and they're talking, communicating with each other either in person or by their comms. And you can see they're thinking about the next step. How would this alien know we're here? How could they maybe get into this place in a way that we haven't thought of? We need to get plans to this exit, so they know we know every exit and we know every possible way that they could come through to us or we could get through to them. Different things that they're thinking about, stuff that people nowadays we associate with YouTube videos like oh, not cinema sins. I guess technically that, but even what's the how it should have ended. I'm a fan of that channel. That channel, um, and some other channels. They're so obvious, but I'm losing my train of thought. They're not coming to me. You know, channels where they all critique movies. Like, why didn't they think of this or this or this? Not Cinema Sins because I don't watch that. But there's some other channels. How it should have ended, and something else that is very obvious, and I bet I'm gonna think of it afterwards, but I'm forgetting that too. Various YouTube channels nowadays that critique movies, superhero movies, fantasy, whatever, for not thinking about so and so decision that a character makes, or this creative choice, this creative choice. You see what I'm saying? Why is it that YouTube channels spend more time doing that than the actual movies we see? Again, I call myself the novice for a reason, and this channel the novice. Maybe I'm just massively ignorant. I probably am of this genre and the modern horror genre, modern science fiction. I'm sure there's many things. I think Expanse is one in terms of science fiction that I've heard thinks about the realities of what it would be like being in space and so on. I guess the Martian 2015 movie is another example of that. I've seen The Martian, I haven't seen The Expanse. I'm guessing in terms of sci-fi, that's a good example of scripts and stories where characters is designed to think ahead and to strategize based on what any person would do in that situation, right? I do value stuff like that, even if I haven't consumed those kind of materials. And is really like nice, a nice feeling where you feel like a movie director is thinking about that, or a character in a movie is thinking about that, as opposed to you going to watch a video where that glass is kind of broken in your mind. I think is the reason why I really dislike Marvel, the MCU, but so many people like and think they're masterpieces to things that I just don't. It always, I've noticed this in my reviews. It always comes back to some dislike of the MCU. It's not my fault. I love Marvel, which is why it's so important to me to critique, because that's an example of modern day iconic films, the same way the Alien franchise has been that example of iconic. I just feel I'm a fanboy of those movies, the Marvel movies, so it's important to me to critique that the same way people probably would with this movie, probably breaking it down for decades now. But just to compare this movie, the original Alien movie, you can tell James Cameron. I don't know if he wrote the script. Whoever is behind this, they're thinking carefully about how people would approach the situation, like smart people, like people who experience trial and error. Maybe it's just me. I just don't feel the same way watching a lot of stuff nowadays. It's a bitter feeling. I won't lie to you. But you guys, tell me what you think down below. Do you think I'm wrong about what I just said about characters not thinking ahead, or stories that don't feel designed to respect people's intelligence, modern day, uh, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever? What do you think about my other points? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Um, Let me know down below. Press that like button if you like this video. Like I said, comment, share with all your friends, and lastly, press that subscribe button. It's right there. Don't be shy. Other than that, guys, signing off. Salute.